Sean Strickland versus Dricus Du Plessis. It really does seem like this fight has a lot of people split right down the middle. There is no clear consensus on who is going to win this fight. And I completely understand why. For one, there's just a lot of unanswered questions that we're not going to know until this fight starts. The reason this matchup is so hard to call is because it's really difficult to gauge where these guys' ceilings are at in terms of skill. And at the same time, just based on how these guys fight, they both have very unique styles, so it's difficult to find reference points to match them up together. For example, Dricus fights like a grasshopper with cerebral palsy. He just looks so awkward and uncoordinated, like he has no idea what he's doing out there. But the truth is, he knows exactly what he is doing. He has real K1 kickboxing accolades, and just looking at the way he kicks, you can tell. Really strong body kicks, good head kicks. But the thing that really sets this guy apart, the thing that truly makes him elite, is the fact that he is a monster. Giant hands, juicy, thick forearms, these huge bulging shoulders. This all accumulates into him having thunderous power, but also, when he gets on top of you, he manhandles guys. And then you got Sean Strickland. And the thing that is so impressive about this guy is his defense and his composure. That is the number one thing that sets this guy apart. I remember a while back attempting to use a Philly shell during kickboxing rounds, just to mess around, just to see how it worked out. And within 15 seconds, I got kicked in the head and could not remember my name for 10 minutes. That is why 99.9% of striking coaches will tell you the Philly shell does not work in kickboxing. But Sean Strickland has a very educated, well thought out rebuttal to that claim. And that is, fuck you. Because he uses the Philly shell and he marches right at you for 5 rounds straight, and he is so difficult to hit. On top of that, he does not get tired. I think a big misconception about cardio in MMA is that having good cardio means you're not going to get tired. That's not true. In training camp, you could be running 3 miles every day, doing your sprints a few times a week. You could be doing 5-minute rounds of sparring with a fresh partner each round. And yeah, your CO2 max is going to be really, really high. But when you go out there for the real fight, with an entire stadium of fans watching, your well-being and half your paycheck is on the line. Your heart rate is going to be going way faster, your breathing is going to be way more erratic, and because of that, no matter how good your cardio is, you are going to gas out way quicker than sparring at your home gym. But this is not a problem for Sean Strickland. Because, of course, as we all already know, all Strickland does for training is spar. That is it. He only spars. You cannot find another fighter on the UFC roster as comfortable as he is at fighting, which is why he is so composed in the octagon. And it's for that reason he is the last guy you want to go 5 rounds with. So how is this fight going to play out? Well, as I alluded to earlier, there are some clear unanswered questions. And the biggest one is, how is Strickland going to deal with Dricus's takedown attempts? Once you have had this guy on top of you, you get out of that situation a different man. Ask Robert Whittaker, ask Darren Till. They both looked absolutely shell-shocked. But when you look at Du Plessis' fight against Derek Brunson, it was clear that Brunson was the more skillful wrestler. He was getting the better out of most exchanges, which makes sense given that Derek was a 3-time NCAA Division II All-American wrestler. So when you look at Dricus, he certainly has grappling skills, but the thing that really separates him is his mass. His ground and pound is devastating. His favorite takedown by far is definitely the single leg, though he'll hit doubles, and we've also seen he'll hit head and arm throws as well. So to me, odds are he most likely will get Strickland to the ground at some point, just for the fact that all he needs to do is get deep on one shot, or clinch up with double unders once, and his physicality is going to do the rest. The question is he going to be able to hold Sean down and land damage? And how hard is he going to have to work to secure takedowns? Because if Strickland fights remotely like he normally does, he's not going to be running into any takedowns. But the way he stands so tall does open him up for double legs. So if he's able to get his hands locked or force a clinch, I do see him being able to take Sean down. But if Sean is able to get back up without taking a significant amount of damage, and that is an if, but if he's able to do that, in my eyes, that gives him a massive advantage in this fight. Because the reason that Dink was able to have so much success against Robert Whittaker was the way Whittaker utilized the blitz. It was clear in the fight that Robert was the more smooth striker, though by blitzing in, it was causing him to eat the occasional jab. And as we saw, it only took a couple of those before he seriously got hurt, eventually getting dropped by one of them. But what's so important here, what our big takeaway needs to be about that is, in that fight, and the one before that against Brunson, he did well from on top on the ground. He did. But he was able to finish them because he hurt them on the feet. But when you look at Strickland, and you look at how tight his defense is, I have a much harder time seeing Dricus connect very often. Now, of course, with the amount of power he has, he doesn't need to land a ton of them. But every round this fight goes on, it becomes more and more in Strickland's favor. And as we've seen before, it is very difficult to put him away. Of course, Pereira finished him round 1. But I'm very hesitant to say that Dricus has that same ability to set up his punches. But this also segues us into question number 2 about this fight. Now, we all know that Du Plessis fixed his nose, and apparently this has given him a massive supercharge in his cardio. But how truthful is that really? Against Whittaker, sure, his cardio did seem a lot better. Though at the same time, while he did keep up a high pace, it wasn't nearly as frantic as the fight with Darren Till and the fight with Derek Brunson was. So, is it that his cardio has really leveled up, or is he learning to pace himself better? Or both? We don't know. But it seems a lot of people are convinced that he's going to try to turn this fight with Sean Strickland into a heavy, grinding, grappling affair, which may not be a bad idea. But like I said earlier, if he can't finish Sean, then he's in serious trouble. We've seen before, in the later rounds, Strickland causes guys to melt. Another important thing I think I need to bring up is that in Dricus' last few fights, his opponents and, well, everybody did not think he was special at all. No one really gave him that respect he really deserved. And that was clear to me in the Robert Whittaker fight. As Chael Sonnen always said, the most difficult fight you can be in is one that's a lot harder than you expected. But now that we've really seen what Dricus is capable of, Sean Strickland is going to be much more prepared for the kind of fight he's bringing. Of course, all he needs to do is land one to put your lights out. We know that, and that is always a possibility. But when you look at Sean's takedown defense, his skills on the ground, and his striking defense, and his cardio, to me, all those things put together give him a massive advantage against Dricus Du Plessis, and that is who I am picking in this fight.